Welcome back to Talk Tensors, the show that takes you straight to the frontier of machine learning research.
That's right.
And today, we're going deep into a paper that's generating a lot of buzz, so to speak. Generated data with fake privacy. Hidden dangers of fine-tuning large language models on generated data.
Gosh, Kyle.
It is by Attila Akus and their team. So we're going to tackle the big question.
Okay.
Does using generated data to train AI actually make things more private?
Right.
Or does it just create a whole new set of vulnerabilities?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I think, intuitively people think if it's generated data, it can't possibly leak information about the original private data.
Right, it's a free pass, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But as this paper shows, that intuition is wrong.
Oh boy.
So that's sort of what's really interesting about this.
Some no easy solutions there.
No easy solutions, yeah.
Okay, well, this has big implications then, right?
Yeah.
Especially with so many new models coming out, like Llama 3, that rely on generated data for training.
Absolutely. And Llama 3, is being trained on just this massive data set of text and code. And surely some of that data is sensitive.
Yeah.
And if the models aren't properly protected, this could be a huge problem.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit then, break down what this paper actually did. Like, what were they looking at?
Sure. So the core focus is what happens when you take a large language model, one that's already been trained on a massive data set, maybe even with sensitive information, and you fine-tune it with generated data.
Okay.
So think about like an AI developer who trains a model on their private financial records.
Yeah.
But to protect privacy, they then fine-tune it on a bunch of generated data that looks like financial records, but it's not real.
Right.
The question is, could an attacker still extract information about those original financial records from the model, even after it's been fine-tuned?
So the model's been kind of like sanitized with this generated data, but is it truly clean?
Exactly. That's the question.
All right, so how did they test this? Like, what data did they use?
So they used two main data sets for their experiments. The Enron email data set, which is full of corporate emails and communication.
Okay.
And the free law legal data set, which is full of actual legal documents.
And those are full of sensitive stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so those are our data sets. Now, how about the fine-tuning?
Right. So they focused on two main approaches. Supervised fine-tuning with plain text data. So you can imagine training an AI on tons of generated emails.
Okay.
And then self-instruct tuning, where the AI is learning by generating its own practice questions and answers.
Right, I've heard about that one.
Yeah. And what they wanted to see was how much personally identifiable information, or PII, could be extracted from these models after fine-tuning. So think things like names, addresses, maybe social security numbers.
Right, the scary stuff.
Right.
Okay, and how did they measure that?
They use two main things. So one is, just trying to extract the PII directly. But they also used membership inference attacks, or MIAs, which is where you're trying to figure out if a specific data point, let's say an email from the CEO of Enron, was part of the AI's original training data.
So basically trying to see if they can pinpoint which specific pieces of information the AI was trained on.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, both of those fine-tuning approaches, even with generated data, actually amplified the privacy risks in some cases.
Wait, so using generated data actually made things worse? I thought it was supposed to help.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
But to put it into perspective, fine-tuning on generated email data led to a more than 50% increase in successful PII attacks.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
That's really concerning.
Yeah.
So why is this happening? Like, why does using generated data backfire like this?
Well, it all comes down to how these large language models, or LLMs, actually learn. And if you think back to the early days of LLMs, we had models like GPT, which relied on massive data sets scraped from the internet to learn how language works. Now, this scraping, while effective, introduced a ton of sensitive information into the training data.
Right, because it's all out there, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the way these models learn, they sometimes memorize specific details instead of just learning general patterns.
Oh, so they're kind of like overfitting to the data.
Right, you could say that.
Interesting.
So even if the model is fine-tuned on generated data, it might still be clinging to those sensitive details it learned during pre-training.
So it's like it's trying to be helpful, but it's accidentally spilling the beans.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even aware it's doing it.
Right.
So the generated data is like a disguise, but not a very good one.
Yeah, and the paper suggests that the structure and semantic similarity of the generated data to the original training data plays a big role here.
So the more realistic the generated data, the higher the risk.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about the risks, but how does all of this play into the bigger picture of AI development?
Yeah.
Especially with models like Llama 3 on the horizon.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting. And that's what we'll be diving into in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. So Llama 3 is like the poster child for why these findings are so important.
Okay.
It's being trained on this massive data set of text and code.
Right.
And you can bet that at least some of that data is sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if the model isn't properly protected, it
Yeah.
could be leaking all sorts of information.
Like what?
Proprietary code,
Yeah.
personal emails,
Hmm.
even financial data could be at risk.
That's scary, and I feel like we're already seeing examples of
That's
that.
right,
So
exactly.
it seems like we're in a tough spot here, right? Like,
Yeah,
we want these large language models.
Mhm.
They're powerful.
Right,
They can do amazing things, but we also need to protect privacy.
right.
So how do we even begin to reconcile those two things?
That's the million-dollar question. And this paper is really a wake-up call,
Yeah.
urging us to rethink how we approach AI development. You know, we can't just assume that using generated data is like a get-out-of-jail-free card for privacy.
Yeah.
We need to be more careful, more
Yeah.
thoughtful,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even a little paranoid.
Yeah, like trust but verify.
Exactly.
Okay, so what can we actually do about this? Are there any concrete steps we can take to address these privacy risks?
Well, there are a few promising avenues being explored.
Okay, like what?
One is differential privacy,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
which involves adding a little bit of noise to the data during training.
Okay.
And this noise helps to mask individual data points, making it harder to extract sensitive information.
So it's like adding static to a radio signal, making it harder to decipher the original message.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
I like that.
Another approach is data anonymization, which involves removing or obfuscating personally identifiable information from the training data.
Right, so like stripping out names and addresses and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
But even these methods aren't perfect.
Right, because people are clever, right.
Yeah,
They'll find ways around it.
exactly. It's a constant arms race.
Yeah.
As attackers develop new ways to exploit these models, we need to develop new ways to protect them.
So it feels like we're constantly playing catch up.
It does.
And the stakes are only getting higher, right?
Absolutely, especially as AI becomes more integrated into every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
Think about the implications for healthcare.
Okay.
Imagine an AI-powered diagnostic tool
Uh-huh.
that analyzes your medical history to detect potential health risks.
That sounds great.
It could revolutionize medicine,
Right.
but only if we can guarantee patient privacy.
Yeah, because what if that AI, trained on a vast database of medical records, accidentally reveals information about other patients?
Right, it would completely erode trust in the entire system. Right.
And the same concerns apply to finance, education, social media.
Basically, anything that involves sensitive data.
Yeah. Any domain where AI is being used to process that kind of data, we need to be incredibly careful.
So where do we go from here? What does this mean for the future of AI?
I think we're at a crucial turning point.
Okay.
We can either continue down the path of reckless AI development, prioritizing performance over privacy,
Mm-hmm.
or we can take a step back
Yeah.
and chart a new course.
A course that prioritizes responsible AI development.
Exactly.
Okay.
We need to shift our focus from simply making AIs smarter
Right.
to making them more ethical,
Uh-huh.
more trustworthy.
Okay.
We need to develop AI systems that are aligned with human values,
I like that.
that respect privacy,
Mm-hmm.
and that operate transparently.
So what would that look like in practice? How do we make that happen?
It requires a lot of collaboration
Okay.
across multiple disciplines:
Like what?
computer science, law, ethics.
Sociology.
Right.
Philosophy.
Yeah, so bringing together all these different perspectives to try to figure out how to do this, right?
Exactly.
It's like assembling a dream team of experts from different fields.
Yeah, and it's not just about technical solutions either.
Okay.
We need to have open and honest conversations about the societal implications of AI.
Uh-huh.
We need to involve the public in this discussion.
Right, because it's their data,
Right.
their privacy that's at stake.
Exactly. It's about shifting the power dynamic away from these large corporations and back toward individuals.
It's about building trust.
Exactly.
So it sounds like we need a pretty fundamental change,
We do.
like a paradigm shift
It is.
in how we think about and develop AI.
It won't be easy, but it's essential if we want to create a future where AI truly benefits humanity.
Okay, so we've explored the potential pitfalls, the
Mhm.
challenges, and this urgent need for a new approach.
Yeah.
But before we get too bogged down in all the serious stuff,
Yeah.
I think it's time for a little bit of fun.
All right, you mean it's time for novel notions?
Yes.
Where we let our imaginations run wild.
Exactly. So today's idea is inspired by the paper's focus on fine-tuning and privacy. What if, instead of trying to prevent AI models from leaking information, we actually encourage them to do so, but in a controlled and beneficial way?
Now that's an interesting twist.
Right.
Tell me more.
So imagine an AI model
Sure.
trained on this massive data set of scientific research papers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's specifically designed to only reveal information that's publicly available.
Okay.
Even if it's buried deep within those papers.
So like an AI-powered research assistant that can connect the dots between different studies uncovering hidden connections and patterns.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's like having a supercharged search engine
Yeah.
that can sift through mountains of data and extract the most relevant, publicly accessible insights.
That would be amazing.
Right. It could revolutionize scientific discovery, but of course the key here is controlled leakage.
Right. That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that the AI only reveals what's already public?
Well, it would require a combination of techniques like differential privacy
Mm-hmm.
and adversarial training to fine-tune the model and make it super sensitive to the line between public and private information.
Okay.
Essentially, we'd be training the AI to become a master of open source intelligence.
It's a bold idea,
It is.
but if we could pull it off, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Right. So imagine researchers using this AI to accelerate drug discovery,
Mm-hmm.
find new solutions to climate change,
Yeah.
even uncover historical mysteries hidden within archives.
Cool.
It could be a game changer for fields where access to information is crucial.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
But of course, this is all hypothetical for now.
Right.
We're just brainstorming,
Yeah.
exploring what might be possible.
Sure.
It's a thought experiment.
Right, but sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries start with a simple what if.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe someday this controlled leakage concept will become a reality.
It could.
Now, before we get too carried away with our futuristic fantasies,
Oh.
let's bring it back down to earth for a minute
Okay.
and revisit that idea you mentioned earlier
Mm-hmm.
about needing a paradigm shift in AI development.
Yeah, it's not just about patching up existing systems.
Right.
We need a fundamental change in how we think about AI,
Okay.
a shift that prioritizes privacy and ethical considerations from the very beginning.
So, practically speaking, where do we start? What are the building blocks of this new paradigm?
Well, I think one crucial step is moving away from this obsession with massive data sets.
Okay.
Bigger isn't always better,
Right.
especially when it comes to privacy.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be more selective about the data we use to train these models.
So are you saying we should curate data sets that are specifically designed for the task at hand, minimizing the inclusion of sensitive information?
Exactly. It's about quality over quantity. Think of it like choosing ingredients for a gourmet meal.
Okay.
You wouldn't just throw everything in the pantry into the pot.
Right.
You'd carefully select the finest ingredients that complement each other.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
So it's not just about the data itself.
Uh-huh.
It's about how we use it.
Right.
We need to develop and implement AI systems that respect privacy and operate transparently.
So transparency is key here.
Absolutely.
Users should understand how their data is being used,
Right.
and they should have the ability to opt out if they choose.
Exactly. It's about shifting the power dynamic away from large corporations and back towards individuals.
It's about building trust.
Exactly.
So it sounds like a significant cultural shift,
It is.
almost a democratization of AI.
Yeah, and it won't be easy.
Right.
But it's essential if we want to create a future where AI truly benefits humanity.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
from those alarming findings of this paper to the need for a complete overhaul of how we approach AI development. This paper has definitely given us a lot to think about.
A lot to chew on, yeah.
It's a stark reminder that we're at a critical juncture in the evolution of AI.
Absolutely.
The choices we make now will shape the future of this technology and its impact on society.
For sure.
If you're as captivated by these questions as we are,
Yeah,
we encourage you to check out the full paper.
please do.
We've got a link in the show notes.
Mm,
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on this research.
absolutely.
Is privacy a lost cause in the age of AI? Or can we forge a path towards a future where innovation and ethical considerations go hand in hand?
Great question.
Let us know what you think.
Join the conversation.
Yeah, let's navigate the future of AI together
Thanks for tuning in to Talk Tensors.
and keep those tensors talking.